Welcome to the Shorten Anime channel. Today we'll dive into the latest episode of The Great Ruler. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the channel. The Great Ruler, Season 1, Episode 45. On the top of the mountain, the originally chaotic battlefield had suddenly quieted down, especially the men from Mang Mountain. They were all stunned as they looked at Yang Gui, whose aura was fading away while he fell down from midair. Their boss was killed just like that, but he was a spirit stage powerhouse. How did he get killed so easily? Men from Mang Mountain. If you dare to resist, then don't blame the Nine Dragon City for making a bloodbath out of you. Lei Shan landed on a huge tree as he glanced at the panicked troops from Mang Mountain. From within his shout, a thick, murderous intent surged out. Kill! The morale of the troops from Nine Dragon City rose. With a loud cry, they suddenly charged towards Mang Mountain's troops in order to kill them. The latter had been destroyed mentally and could not form an effective defense. Muchen watched the defeated troops from Mang Mountain and let out a sigh of relief. He circulated the Great Pagoda art and absorbed spiritual aura in order to recover. Previously, Lei Shan's attack was quite decisive. He did not hesitate and killed Yang Gui when he had become weak momentarily. Bang! In the sky, violent spiritual energy erupted out from the place where Zhou Yi and Liu Zong were fighting. Zhou Yi retreated a dozen steps, while Liu Zong only retreated 2 steps. However, Liu Zong had an ugly expression on his face. That was because he had seen the cold corpse of Yang Gui. Useless trash! Liu Zong's heart was slightly shocked. He immediately gritted his teeth as he cursed. Yang Gui's death had basically ruined their advantageous situation. Ha ha ha, Liu Zong, it seems that it's impossible for things to go your way today. Zhou Ye let out a cold laugh. The morale on their side had increased with Yang Gui's death. And more importantly, Lei Shan could now extend a helping hand. Zhou Ye could team up with him in order to defeat Liu Zong. Even for Liu Zong, who was at the spirit stage middle phase, it would be difficult to obtain the upper hand when facing 2 spirit stage initial phase powerhouses. Liu Zong's face darkened. He stared at Mang Mountain's defeated troops and gnashed his teeth bitterly. Then he glared coldly at Zhou Ye and appeared next to Liu Ming, who was heavily injured and burned to a char by Mu Chen. He grabbed onto Liu Ming and quickly fled away from the mountain peak. Retreat! Seeing Liu Zong retreat, the Liu territory's men also shouted out and quickly escaped from the fray. Without the support from the Liu territory, Mang Mountain's troops completely lost their morale and quickly surrendered when the fortress was broken into. Mu Chen stood on top of the fortress walls and watched as the troops from Mang Mountain scattered away. Mang Mountain would now disappear forever from the northern spiritual realm's underworld. Haha, Mu Chen, you're quite amazing. You're actually able to arrange such a powerful spiritual array at such a young age. Lei Shan laughed as he landed next to Mu Chen. He firmly patted Mu Chen's shoulder as Mu Chen gave a bitter laugh due to the force. He felt that his entire body was being shattered. It was evident that Lei Shan was in an excellent mood. Yang Gui was a big rival for him, and Lei Shan had been suppressed by him over the past few years. He had never thought that he would be able to get his revenge today. Of course, it was thanks to Mu Chen's spiritual array support. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to take Yang Gui's life that easily, even if he had managed to defeat him. Zhou Ye also descended down. He looked at Mu Chen with a pleased smile. It was a wise decision when he decided to bring Mu Chen along with him. Leader Lei, we'll let you deal with the remaining men from Mang Mountain. Zhou Ye looked at the troops that had surrendered as he directed a smile towards Lei Shan. That's fine. Lei Shan nodded. For an underworld force, what they needed the most was manpower. The Mu territory might despise these individuals, but Nine Dragon City required them. Mang Mountain is the strongest underworld force within the northern spiritual realm. They surely must have a lot of treasures. Since we've obtained their troops, we'll leave the treasure collection to you. Lei Shan smiled. This was within reason. Mang Mountain had been eradicated, and hence they had managed to resolve a big concern of theirs. Moreover, they could take this opportunity and form a friendly relationship with the Mu territory. Thus, Lei Shan was willing to give up the Mang Mountain's treasure to the Mu territory. Zhou Ye smiled. He did not refuse, but he also did not plan on accepting everything. He said, let's split it in half. Nine Dragon City has suffered quite a bit of losses today. Moreover, we still have an opportunity to cooperate. Then, I'll have to thank Brother Zhou. Lei Shan did not argue as he cupped his hands and smiled. Right now, they had offended the Lu territory. In order to avoid their retaliation, they naturally had to form a better relationship with the Mu territory. Since the two sides had come to an agreement, Lei Shan waved his hand and called his men to bring over a certain person. This person was exceptionally skinny, yet he had quite the cunning eyes. However, he looked miserable instead, due to the blood covering his body. This is the second leader of Mang Mountain, Lin Hao. He is also a known figure. Lei Shan smiled coldly at Lin Hao and said, "Bring us to the treasure room. If you are useful to us, you will naturally be able to keep your life. Otherwise, I do not mind getting rid of you right now." Lin Hao shuddered when he saw Lei Shan's killing intent. He hurriedly smiled and said, "Leader Lei, relax. I know all about Mang Mountain and am well aware of where the most precious collection is located." "Then why don't you hurry and lead the way?" Lei Shan shouted. Yes, please follow me." Lin Hu quickly nodded and awkwardly led the way. This sort of person, who would betray anyone in his interest, isn't suitable for staying in Nine Dragon City. Zhou Ye stared at the silhouette of Lin Hao as he said that with a faint smile. "Brother Zhou, there's no need to worry. I naturally understand this." Lei Shan smiled. He wasn't a fool. How could he let a person, who could easily betray his former lord, stay by his side? Hearing this, Zhou Ye did not bring it up anymore, and followed quickly along with Mu Chen. Mang Mountain's fortress was quite massive and had numerous houses. Currently, Lin Ho was turning left and right as he brought everyone to the largest building in the depths of the fortress. Lin Hao stopped in the study room of the building. Then the wall suddenly cracked open when Lin Hao touched the wall. Afterwards, he directed a smile towards Lei Shan and said, "Everyone, this place is Yang Gui's treasure collection when he was still alive. I only found it due to a coincidence." "You can enter it first," Lei Shan said faintly. It was clear that he did not trust this person. Lin Hu laughed awkwardly and immediately entered. Seeing that he was completely fine, Lei Shan, Zhou Ye, and Mu Chen followed him. Behind the wall was a secret room. There was a sparkling light coming from it. The secret room wasn't large, yet it was definitely filled with treasure. There were spirit coins piled up, almost forming a small hill. From the looks of it, there were at least 1,000,000 coins. On the other side, numerous jaded scripts were placed. It was obvious that this was Yang Gui's spiritual arts collection. Mu Chen became a little bit interested and wandered in. He looked at a few spiritual arts and immediately curled his lips. These spiritual arts were not considered that excellent. The highest level one was only at the spiritual tier. Mu Chen casually looked at them and soon completely lost interest in these spiritual arts. He began to wander into the interior. At that location, there were a few exquisite jaded boxes. He picked one up and gently opened the cover. Then a fist-sized blood ginseng appeared in his eyes. A rich and pure spiritual energy emitted out along with its fragrance. 9 truth blood ginseng? Mu Chen looked at the blood ginseng and his eyes suddenly lit up. This was a worldly treasure that was even rarer than the jaded essence fruit. It was extremely beneficial for cultivation. However, the spiritual energy within it was extremely violent. It would harm the body if it was not completely ingested. However, Mu Chen was not afraid of this at all. The great pagoda art that he trained in was exceptionally domineering. It was clear that the violent spiritual energy from the blood ginseng was at a level beneath it. Moreover, if he was able to completely ingest this fully matured 9 truths blood ginseng, he might be able to break through to the spiritual rotation stage late phase in a short period of time. "Uncle Joe, this thing belongs to me." Mu Chen waved the jaded box towards Zhou Ye and smiled. "You've performed a great job this time. Pick as many treasures as you want." Zhou Ye smiled. Hearing this, Mu Chen placed it within his mustard seed bracelet. However, he was not greedy. Although these worldly treasures were excellent, it would be harmful for him in the long run if he over-relied on them to increase his strength quickly. Therefore, he was not envious when the other decent worldly treasures were taken away by Zhou Ye and Lei Shan. Instead, he wandered around the secret room and looked everywhere. The secret room was not that spacious, and Mu Chen quickly reached the end of it. However, he did not see anything special. Thus, he could only pout his lips. It seemed that Yang Gui's collection wasn't that amazing. Mu Chen shook his head and was about to turn around. Crack. However, he seemed to have stepped on something when he turned around. Something rolled out from beneath his foot. He lowered his head and saw a black scroll rolling near his foot. The scroll was covered in dust. It was evident that it wasn't taken care of properly. Mu Chen frowned as was about to leave. However, he did not know why he suddenly hesitated for a moment and sucked up the black scroll into his hands. Mu Chen looked at it carefully, yet he did not discover anything special from it. Then he casually opened the scroll. When the scroll was opened, a faint black light emerged. Flashing black lines were scattered across the scroll without any rules. Mu Chen frowned as he stared at the scattered lines. His eyes were filled with doubt. These lines seemed like a diagram array. However, it was disorganized and had no proper trajectories for the array. "What is this thing?" Mu Chen pouted his lips. The pattern within the scroll seemed like something drawn by an ignorant child and looked completely useless. Mu Chen fixated his gaze on the black scroll. He could vaguely feel something wrong with it. Then he pondered for a moment before suddenly closing his eyes. The sounds from the outside world were gradually being cut off. Under the silence, he actually entered the heart array state. Although Mu Chen had closed his eyes when he entered the heart array state, he could still see the thick black light that erupted out from the black scroll. Then he saw with his heart a mysterious trajectory slowly connecting the originally chaotic light beams. The black light surged through the outlines of the light beams. As Mu Chen looked at them attentively, he could see an extremely complex diagram array emerging from the scroll. He could vaguely perceive a mysterious black lotus and an indescribably vicious aura emitting out from the diagram array. Mu Chen's body trembled slightly and he suddenly opened his eyes. A muffled sound rang out from his throat. Then traces of blood began to emerge from the corner of his mouth. However, he did not care about it at all, and only stared in shock at the black scroll within his hands. This item was definitely a high-rank diagram array. A high-rank diagram array? Mu Chen stared unsteadily at the black scroll within his hand. Although he could not determine the rank of this diagram array, it should be at least more powerful than a rank 2 spiritual array. If word comes out about this level of a diagram array, it would probably create madness among the spiritual array masters within the Northern spiritual realm. In the eyes of spiritual array masters, even rare worldly treasures wouldn't be as attractive as this high-rank diagram array. Mu Chen wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth. Then he walked towards Zhou Ye and Lei Shan as he waved the scroll. "Uncle Zhou, I want this as well." Zhou Ye and the others took the black scroll and looked over it back and forth. However, they did not see any clues from it. Thus, they smiled and handed it over to Mu Chen. Mu Chen snickered when he accepted it. He knew that Zhou Ye and Lei Shan wouldn't be able to see the mystery behind the black scroll. Otherwise, Yang Gui wouldn't have casually discarded it at this place. The value of a high-rank spiritual array was probably much higher than everything else inside the secret room. As for how Mu Chen could see through the mystery of this black scroll, it was all because he could enter the heart array state. Otherwise, Mu Chen believed that even a rank 2 spiritual array master wouldn't be able to discover the hidden diagram array within the black scroll, even if they were looking at it. The heart array state is something that only a rank 3 spiritual array master could enter. However, it was not absolute and only had a small probability. Not every single rank 3 spiritual array master would be able to enter the heart array state. Thus, it was a secret that couldn't be unlocked by just anyone. Mu Chen quickly put away the black scroll. When he headed back, he could research it a little. However, it was impossible for him to attempt arranging it with his current strength. Previously, his body had trembled just from the vicious aura emitting from the diagram array. If he attempted to arrange it forcibly, he would definitely die due to the backlash. After he obtained the high-grade diagram array, Mu Chen did not have any other thoughts about the items within the secret room and allowed Zhou Ye and Lei Shan to divide the spoils of war. Then they called their respective troops to transfer it back to their own territory. Leader Lei, regarding this matter, it is all thanks to Nine Dragon City. If there is anything you need help with, please feel free to send some men over to the Mu territory. We will definitely help you with the best of our abilities. At the entrance of the Mang mountain range, Zhou Ye cupped his hands towards Lei Shan and smiled as he led the Mu territory's troops. Haha! Brother Zhou, you're being too polite. My Nine Dragon City will have to thank you. Once we settle the situation over here, we will definitely head over to the Mu territory and pay a visit to territory Lord Mufang. Sure, farewell. Zhou Ye smiled. He did not delay it and waved his hands as he brought the large number of troops away. They quickly disappeared from Nine Dragon City's line of sight. News quickly spread out regarding the battle against Mang Mountain. The destruction of Mang Mountain shocked the Northern Spiritual Realm. After all, Mang Mountain was the strongest underworld force within the Northern Spiritual Realm. Since it was now eradicated, it naturally attracted a lot of attention, especially when news about Yang Gui's death came out. Numerous individuals were completely stunned when they heard this. A spirit stage powerhouse would actually be killed like this? They really can't provoke the Mu territory. Numerous large and small forces sighed. They naturally heard about Mang Mountain attacking the Mu territory and killing one of the Mu territory's city lords. Although they knew that the Mu territory would not just endure it, they never expected that the Mu territory's revenge would be enacted this quickly and this viciously. Liu territory within the Liu estate. Liu Qingtian sat at the seat of honor with an indifferent expression. Beside him was Liu Mubai, while below him were Liu Zong and Liu Ming. However, both of them had an ugly expression at this moment. "How did you fail?" Liu Qingtian glanced at the two of them and asked as he frowned. "It's all because of that little asshole Mu Chen." Liu Ming gritted his teeth and said, "That brat could actually arrange a spiritual array whose power was comparable to a rank 2 spiritual array. Together with Lei Shan, they killed Yang Gui." "Oh?" Liu Qingtian's expression changed slightly. "So Mu Chen could arrange such a powerful spiritual array? That brat really was a disaster. He actually improved so much in such a short period of time." At the same time, Liu Mubai also gnashed his teeth secretly. A hint of jealousy and hatred flashed through the depths of his eyes. Unknowingly, the gap between Mu Chen and him had been pulled apart. How could his prideful self endure this? "Big brother, what should we do now? With the matter about Mang Mountain, the Mu territory's reputation will definitely soar. Moreover, they also formed a close relationship with Nine Dragon City. This isn't good news for us," Liu Zong asked. Liu Qingtian smiled calmly. However, a chill filled his eyes. "Why are you so impatient? We instructed Mang Mountain to act in order to capture the Mu territory's attention. Our father is progressing smoothly with his training. He should be able to exit his secluded training after 1 month. When that happens, he will become the only 3-heaven stage powerhouse in the Northern Spiritual Realm. By that time, who will care about the Mu territory? We will be able to easily destroy them. As for the other forces, it would be great if we could conquer them. However, if they're unwilling, then we can just eliminate them." Liu Qingtian's eyes were burning eagerly as he clenched his hands tightly. When that happens, the Liu territory will become the true overlord of the Northern Spiritual Realm. The vast area will be controlled single-handedly by my Liu territory. When Liu Zong and Liu Ming heard this, their eyes became a lot more passionate. It was finally time for the Liu territory to rule over the Northern Spiritual Realm. Mu territory. After the incident with Mang Mountain was dealt with, Mu Chen had quietly stayed in the Mu estate. This was because he spent most of his time researching the mysterious black diagram array inside the scroll. He had also allowed Wen Ling to glance at the diagram array. The latter had already successfully advanced to a rank 2 spiritual array master. However, he did not possess the heart array state and could not view the hidden diagram array within the scroll. About the diagram array, he did not hide it from him. After all, Wen Ling had treated him quite well. Not only did he lead him on the path of a spiritual array master, he had also handed over all the diagram arrays he possessed without reservation. To this stern teacher, Mu Chen felt quite grateful to him. Moreover, when Wen Ling heard about this from Mu Chen, he was quite interested in it. After all, a high-rank diagram array possessed great attractiveness towards spiritual array master. But contrary to Mu Chen's expectation, Wen Ling was not fixated on it. He only smiled and said that he had no luck with this diagram array. Therefore, he could not view it. Regarding this, Mu Chen could do nothing about it. Since Wen Ling could not see the hidden diagram array within the scroll, he did not have the ability to simulate it. Therefore, Mu Chen could only keep it to himself and slowly research it. After a period of research, Mu Chen had vaguely entered the starting point and had a bit of understanding concerning the diagram array. If his research was correct, this diagram array's name was known as the Butchering Demonic Lotus Spiritual Array. As for the overall rank of the diagram array, Mu Chen did not fully understand it yet. However, it was at least a rank 3 diagram array. It was obvious that Mu Chen could not arrange a diagram array of this level with his current strength. About this, Mu Chen felt quite helpless. He had the diagram array, yet he did not have the strength to attempt it. Instead, it made him itch. Thus, he could only gradually gather his thoughts and attempt the diagram array in the future. After turning his focus away from this, Mu Chen began to dedicate himself fully to his cultivation. With his current strength, he had long possessed the qualifications to break through into the spiritual rotation stage middle phase. However, he did not do that. Instead, he had constantly suppressed his spiritual energy and did not allow himself to reach that step yet. It wasn't that he didn't want to advance to the spiritual rotation stage middle phase. It was just that his ambition did not stop there. Instead, he planned on directly breaking through to the spiritual rotation stage late phase. This idea was quite unreliable. After all, it required a large amount of spiritual energy to break through to a spiritual rotation stage late phase from the spiritual rotation stage middle phase. If it was before, Mu Chen would not have this idea. However, he possessed the 9 truths blood ginseng right now. Therefore, he had this thought. The 9 truths blood ginseng possessed a pure and violent spiritual energy. As long as Mu Chen could ingest this spiritual energy, he could rely on the spiritual energy that he suppressed within his body and release it all out during the peak density. This would definitely be like a pent-up volcano. The eruption would be extremely terrifying. By relying on this energy, Mu Chen was certain that he could break through to the spiritual rotation stage late phase. Thus, Mu Chen could only wait for the correct timing, and this wait lasted for nearly half a month. After half a month, Mu Chen sat cross-legged on a stone platform inside the Mu Estate's courtyard. At this moment, spiritual energy continued to leak out endlessly from the surface of his body. It represented that the spiritual energy within his body had reached an extreme. At every level, there was a limit how much spiritual energy could be stored within the body. Currently, Mu Chen was only at the spiritual rotation stage initial phase. However, the amount of spiritual energy within his body had surpassed the limits of a spiritual rotation stage initial phase. If he failed to deal with the situation accordingly, it could easily cause damage to the meridians as the spiritual energy was too abundant. Mu Chen let out a deep breath. A hint of black light leaked out from his breath as well. It was evident that it was mixed with spiritual energy. It's about enough. Mu Chen felt a slight pain within his body and smiled slightly. This act was extremely dangerous. Fortunately, the Great Pagoda art was exceptionally domineering and could control the abundant spiritual energy. It stopped the spiritual energy from causing damage recklessly within his body. Otherwise, he would not dare to do such a bold act. Mu Chen gripped his hand and a jaded box emerged. He opened the box and the 9 truths blood ginseng appeared from within it. A rich scent poured out. Then he inhaled and instantly felt the spiritual energy within his body expand once again. Amazing! Mu Chen secretly let out a praise. However, his eyes quickly turned serious, and he threw the 9 truths blood ginseng into his mouth. The scalding juice emitted out within Mu Chen's mouth and instantly turned into surging amounts of spiritual energy. It flowed into Mu Chen's body like a torrent and instantly caused his body to turn red. Mu Chen felt the spiritual energy that was about to rampage within his body and did not dare to act slowly. He quickly closed his eyes and entered a state of cultivation. He circulated the Great Pagoda art madly in order to ingest the violent spiritual energy. Right now, it was time to break through. That wraps up the content for today's episode. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel to get notifications for the next episode. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.